Please welcome Saurav Jain, who's going to talk to us about scraping things and making APIs for less well-defined things.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Before starting this talk, I usually do this, like wave your hands, but all of you are very wake up with the Chris talk, so I won't do that. But I will start this talk with like two questions that will set it. How many of you have ever built a scraper that worked perfectly for the first time? Uh, but yeah, but it stopped working in a few days without changing anything. So yeah, this is going to be the motto or the topic of the talk. And before that, good morning and namaste. I'm Saurav. I'm work as a senior developer community manager at Appify, and talk is going to be on the same note. All of us are Python developers. I hope nobody is imposter here, and we all design APIs and scraper that depends majorly on data that we don't control, and that is open web. So how we can make sure that we build something that works. Before that, like a brief intro, I work at Appify, and Appify is a platform for running web scrapers and software at scale. So we call them actors, and they are like little program, go to website, scrape something, produce some clean data set. So we have thousands of scrapers running at scales all the time for our customers, and these lessons are coming directly from there. So what is this talk about? So the key idea is simple. If anyone or anything that depends on the data that your scraper produces, you need to think carefully about what data looks like, what's guaranteed, and what happens when things goes wrong. And that's what this talk is going to be about. But here is the reality like we have to face. The very moment someone else, whether it's a colleague, a machine learning model, or anyone, who uses the output of your scraper and you effectively have published an API, you're no longer just building a scraper, but you're a data provider here. So this talk is going to be about that, and that you write a scraper, it produces some data, and someone uses that data. That someone can be a dashboard, an automated report, a database, a machine learning model, or future you at 2 a.m. in the night regretting your past decisions. Yeah, so let me click. It's not clicking. Yeah. So yeah, this is the reality. When you use a proper API, there's kind of an agreement between you and the provider. They promise to keep things stable, and why they change, they tell you in advance. So website make no such promise. And at Avify, we monitor thousands of websites, and we have done a research where we see that popular website changes their structure every 2 to 4 weeks on an average. Now think about it on scale. Over 40% of world's valuable data, business data, for example, pricing, reviews, news, social sentiment, they live on open web. We don't have any clean API for that. So we are building this massive business on a shifting sand. So a little bit comparison between an API and an open web. You don't have any documentation. You have no versioning. The changes are silent always, so you don't know when the change happens. The format is inconsistent, and there are errors that look like success. So I'm going to talk about each of the one in the further slides. This talk is also going to be about the mental shift that you need to bring in order to build APIs or scrapers for data you don't control. So let's see, how will you think if you are going to build a scraper? It can be, normal thing can be, does it work right now? But maybe the better way is like, what happens if it breaks? What a mechanism should be there? I got the data, but is it in the right shape? It's just a script, but someone else depends on this, and we have talked about the someone else before. I will fix when it breaks, but how will you know that it is already broken? So worst thing is not the crash. Yeah, I want to highlight this thing, that worst thing is not the crash. Crash is still okay because it's loud. You will get a error log, you will send a Slack alert, and you go and fix it. But the real problem is silent failure. So imagine you are running a price monitoring scraper for a major retailer. The website changes its layout. Your scraper doesn't crash, it just fails to find the dot price selector element and start returning some garbage value. So your code doesn't complain. You fill the database with none values. Your pricing dashboard starts showing some random garbage value for your biggest category. So nobody notices it for a week, and by the time you find it, you have lost 3 weeks or few weeks of historical data that you cannot find again. So this is the problem that that I think is bigger than a crash. And website quietly changes. Scraper does not crash. It started returning wrong or none data. Database fills with corrupt data, and decisions are made on such data. So I'll say like define the shape of your data before you scrape. So most people start scraping by opening a browser, finding a CSS selector, and then throwing whatever they find into a Python dictionary. Maybe a better way will be that like start with your Python ID and define your data model first. So maybe use a Python data class or pydantic where we can you have fields which are required, and then you have fields which are optional. So at Abify, we have these output schemas of each of the scraper that we have on our platform, where we define the structure of the data and promise this to our users that this is how you are going to get data. There will be few required fields, there will be few optional fields. For particularly in this example, for example, if we are scraping some e-commerce data and you have some fields that are required. For example, title, URL, and in stock may be required fields, and it always exists. But then we have price, rating, and reviews. Price might be called for price sometimes that you cannot just scrape. Then you have rating, maybe some product doesn't have rating at all, or maybe some product doesn't have any review count at all. So those fields can be optional. So this code is not just a data class or something. It acts as a contract between you and your users. So this is how we do it, and we do it at Apify. And then one more thing that I would like to mention is I don't know is not equal to no. This is like very small thing, but I say like, let's say you are scraping job listing to find whether this job is remote or not from a particular website. And you go to this page, you scrape, you're scraping jobs, and imagine a job doesn't have any location at all. So it is going to be a false thing, or is remote is equal to false or not here? No, because false is a definitive statement here, and it means like I'm certain that this job is not remote. But when you simply don't find the data, the answer is none. So this is three valued logic, and none is equals to information not present on the page, and while true or false is equals to verified information. So if you conflate these, you are just like, it brings bias into the analytics, and you might not even realize until it's too late. So then pass carefully, don't crash. I like web is a disaster zone for formatting. So on the same website, you'll see like pricing in many formats. For example, one pricing might be $1,200. Many places, like we use comma in numeric system, and many places use decimal. So it might be euro 45.0 decimal 00. Then it might be call for price. It might also be from $20. So it can be very different things on the same page, same website in different versions. So if you see the code above, we are handling it in a very bad way there. We have find dot text and then float all together. So it's a landmine. If the element is missing, text will crash. If there is a comma, float will crash. And then on the bottom, it checks if the element exists first. Then it uses the regular expression to clean the text properly. And then it uses the decimal for money. Because, yeah, we know like if you're using float here, 0.1 plus 0.2 will be 0.30004, which will be not equal to 0.3. And most importantly, if it fails to pass, it logs the exact raw text that caused a failure. So when you are debugging again, it will be very quick to grab things rather than investigating the whole thing if you are logging it perfectly. So check if the element exists before using it. Clean the text before converting it. If you can't pass it, just return none. Don't crash here. If the data is optional here, otherwise yes. Log what went wrong so you can investigate it later. Then yeah, automatic validation using pydanting. I think pydanting can be very useful here. You define your data shape once and then add some validation rules. And every time you create a product, for example, it checks everything for you. Title is empty, it will give you error. Rating is 47, which should be 1 to 5. It will give you error. Pricing came back as a string. It will try to convert it, and fail with a clear message if you cannot. So you write just rules once, and then that will take care of you for the whole time. And also the extra ignore part is nice there, because whenever websites start returning new fields, you don't know about, the code won't crash, but add to it. So when things break, say why, obviously, like we need to accept that the failure is very inevitable in scraping, but not all failures are equal. So when you are starting getting too many requests or CAPTCHA problem, term it as a temporary error. So your system should wait, swap proxies or retries. But if it is a completely redesigned of the whole product page, and your CSS selectors are hitting empty here, I think even retrying 1,000 times won't make sense. So terming errors into different specific things will help you to figure out whether you need to stop the program and alert a human, or your system can just retry or swap proxies and use it. Then in the last few things, I think safe versus breaking changes. What can be a safe change here and what can be a breaking change? So because I was talking about this contract and everything with the user, you need to make sure that adding optional field is generally safe, because you're just adding something something extra which won't break the current thing. But if you are removing field, if you are renaming field, if you are changing types, you need to make sure you inform users in advance. We do it 14 business days in advance whenever we are making some changes to our current output schema, and we inform our users in very advance. So it's a very transparent process for them. And then the last thing, monitor your data quality. I think this is probably the most important thing here, that suddenly you are running a scraper, and you usually get 95% of the data filled in the data sheet, but suddenly you are getting just 40% of it. So something gets wrong. So monitoring the data quality is the quickest way to grab that something is going wrong with the scraper, and to avoid the silent data failure that I was talking about earlier. So yeah, and in the end, like we also have a lot of such scrapers, more than 20,000 on our Appify store, which is built by developers all around the world. And we pay developers to build that. They get whatever they earn, 80% of it. So last month, we paid more than $1 million to them. And it was like 50,000 when I joined. So this is a community thing where people build a software, publish it on our platform, and then get paid for it. If you want to use, I have a coupon code. You can talk later on, nb_python. And I will see you at drinks. So thank you so much. That's all.